I would like to invite Bart to share with you not a piece of scripture, but something else, a proposed statement of who we are. Bart? You're muted.
Who we are. We are a joyful, loving, and intentionally inclusive community of people who grow in faith and understanding of God's unconditional love through the teachings of Jesus. To experience how God is still speaking in today's world, we explore questions, nurture our spirituality, and support each other in our joys and struggles. We strive through church action and community partnerships to advance social justice, stewardship for God's creation, and equity for everyone.
Thanks, Bart. So that was little, wasn't it? Did you hear it? Did you all hear it? Nod your heads yes or no. Because if you didn't hear it, we'll have to go back. That is a brief, nice little statement, not too wordy. It all fits on one page, just like this. And it's our proposed statement of who we are as a faith community. We had a short one that was created, I think, probably 14 years ago now. It was short enough, but there were paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs that were added to it to help us be clear about who we were. And we felt that it was a little bit exhausting and that now was the time to look at and ponder a briefer, fresh wording of who we are. We decided, I think it was Lorna who mentioned this to us, we decided that we needed something short enough to be an elevator pitch. How many of you are familiar with that term? An elevator pitch is your big idea that you share with someone so concisely, so clearly that you get your point across in the time it takes to go from the first floor to the fourth floor in an elevator, or the 10th floor, whatever. It is meant to be an opportunity for you to make an important point to important people without stumbling, without overdoing the language, without stuttering. It has to be clear. And this is our effort to say about our community of Westminster, who we are in an elevator ride. We, the task force members, who are Nick Kesterling, Jane Baker, Lorna Krupp, Bart Priest, Mary Rupert, Roger Stevens, and myself. We believed that you would like to have some words to say about who we are as Westminster and what we hold dear as the people of Westminster, and you'd like to be able to say it before you sit down to Thanksgiving dinner, or before you get on an airplane and you're sitting next to somebody and they're talking about their church and they say, do you go to church? And you gotta say something. You wanna be able to say to Aunt Esther or Uncle Bob or the stranger on the bus, yes, and this is my church. This is my faith community. Now, you are the first of the important people on the elevator that Nick and Jane and Lorna and Bart and Mary and Roger and I want to share or pitch these 3 paragraphs to. These are words and paragraphs that we believe speak honestly about Westminster. And I want you to realize that every word has been weighed. Every image has been considered and discussed thoroughly. So that first paragraph that Bart read, we are a joyful, comma, loving, comma, and intentionally inclusive community of people who grow in faith and understanding of God's unconditional love through the teachings of Jesus. It starts with we. It starts with us, not me, we. And then it goes on and it describes us as joyful and loving and intentionally inclusive. I will say that this task force discarded the words friendly and welcoming. And we did that on purpose because we didn't think they went deep enough. We want to be more than just a church that says, come in and sit down on a Sunday morning. We actually want to be radical in the kind of love and welcome that we offer, that we are very intentional about pushing ourselves outside our comfort zones, outside of the familiar, that we are willing to let our eyes be opened to other people's realities when they come and share themselves with us on Sunday morning. So we call ourselves an intentionally inclusive community. And we also believe that we are students, learners together. And we're doing that lovingly and joyfully. Oh, I'm so happy the word joy is in there. It's in our very first sentence because there's so much mean religion out there, right? Judgmental and harsh and condemning and exclusive and just downright alarming religion. So we chose joyful and loving and inclusive. And we believe we are learners. We're growing in our understanding about God's love and the vastness of it. And we're growing in our awareness of how Jesus manifested that love in his life, in his stories, in everything he did. And so we say, we learn about that love through the teachings of Jesus. End of paragraph 1. Then we move to the second paragraph, which states, to experience how God is still speaking in today's world, we explore questions, nurture our spirituality, and support each other in our joys and struggles. Well, in the United Church of Christ, a number of years ago, there was an advertising and awareness campaign called the God is Still Speaking campaign. And without ever saying in our statement here that we are the United Church of Christ, we still recognize that campaign and how fruitful it was in giving us a more generous theology about God. An understanding that God is still speaking in our world, not once long ago, but every day, every hour, through everything. And so we say, we experience God is still speaking in today's world, and we explore questions and nurture our spirituality. We're not afraid to have questions, to acknowledge that our awareness, our understanding, our capacity for the infinite God grows and evolves. Hopefully it deepens over time. Faith is supposed to be full of questions and exploration and discovery. And we support and encourage that. And we support and encourage each other. And we say, in joys, again, that lovely word, joy, in joys and in struggles, because we know we have struggles. We share those struggles in our prayers every week. But we aren't a club. We are not a country club. We are not an exclusive community. We don't exist simply for each other. We know that the joy of this community that has now been reiterated twice, once in each paragraph, and that the growing understanding of God's love and God's design for creation, that is to be shared with the world, and it leads us beyond ourselves. And so we come to our third paragraph, which states, we strive through church action and community partnerships to advance social justice, stewardship for God's creation, and equity for everyone. So I want to reiterate again that all of us on the team, on the task force, chose every word with care. And so we started this paragraph with we and strive. Because we are striving, not necessarily always succeeding, okay? But we are striving. We are putting out the effort and the intention and the ideas that will allow us to take action. And acting on what we learn as we explore our spirituality, paragraph 2, our action, we believe, is to help repair the world. Action to show God's love through our lives. Action to show the inclusive welcome of Jesus to those who do not have any experience of welcome in Christianity. That's what we are striving to do through church action. And that drives us into community partnerships, which is the second part of that third paragraph. We're better together. We're better when we take our humble efforts and share them with capacity and power, energy and enthusiasm with community partners throughout the city, with community partners in the county, with relationships that extend over to Olympia, all the way to Washington and throughout the world. We are better when we are united with others, and we are stronger and more powerful when we work together. That's why we share our time and our money and our energy and our resources with the poor and the homeless and the sick and the forgotten, and work with Volunteers of America. That's why we believe we're a better witness to God's love when we march and celebrate with pride, when we honor marriage equality, when we stand with our transgender siblings as they embrace the fullness of life. If we are, as this last paragraph says, going to fight for equity for everyone and advance social justice, as it says, then we're going to have to unpack our racial biases, our cultural assumptions. We have to expose ourselves and be willing to learn hard lessons. We have to watch that difficult movie about slavery or suppression of voters or life under Jim Crow. We have to read that terrible book about the genocide of Native peoples. We have to be willing to do that too if we believe in equity for everyone. And there's an entirely new phrase in this third paragraph. We strive for stewardship for God's creation. Our action, our partnership, has to take into account the ever more intense awareness we have of the environmental crises that rack our planet. Whether we experience it simply through the choking smoke of the summer's fires, or recognize it in the terrible hurricanes and storms that crash on every shore, we know that our planet is in trouble. And the creatures of our beautiful blue-green earth are in trouble. I just read an article from a scientific magazine that says Japanese scientists have now found human-based mercury, non-natural mercury, and nuclear waste in the Marianas Trench, which is the deepest spot on the earth. Our planet, our lives are in trouble. We have a lot to do. So we very intentionally put in the striving for proper stewardship of God's creation. 3 paragraphs, short ones. We're going to do what we can with our money and our time and our voice, our power and our will. And we're going to do it in partnership because we believe in that. And we recognize that we are interconnected on every level, through and through and through. 3 paragraphs, short ones. What do you think, people? Our question from Nick and Jane and Lorna and Bart and Mary and Roger and myself, our question is this us? Is this us? We want you to ponder these words, and they'll be in the witness, and we'll throw them up on a screen now and again. Maybe we'll start to have conversation in our breakout rooms about these words. But we want you to become familiar with them, because at our 2021 annual meeting, we're going to ask you to decide, is this us? Shall we claim these words as our statement of who we are? It's up to you and it's up to us. I invite you into conversation about who we are. Everybody's chatting. I'm checking the chat for comments. Okay, everybody. Mark will lead us in singing. If you have a hymn book at home, it's 538.